Yes, everybody, and welcome to High on Homegrown, the most professional cannabis podcast. I am Mackie from the UK, and joining us this week, we have Monkey Dude.
Hi, everybody. Monkey here on this very professional intro down here at the Southeast US. Hope everybody's having a good time today. We got something nice to smoke.
We also have Marge.
That's right, Marge from Central Canada, enjoying a very rainy December, and also host of one of the other most professional podcasts that exist out there, Bite Me, the show about edibles.
Ooh,
Tits.
like that.
Do you know what? We did so well. We did so well, and the fucking music's playing in the background. Jesus.
I love it.
Jesus.
Well,
Gosh.
one of our normal intros can't have everything
Gosh.
perfect, you know?
We try so hard to just get it perfect for you all every week, and we just never get
Well,
it.
Marge, wouldn't you agree with it? It sounded perfect from where I'm sitting.
That's right.
It
yeah.
sounded very
we can't-
professional where I was sitting.
Maybe they're
we
just
can't-
too picky. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not us.
Don't worry, he can take the music out in post.
That's right. He'll be fine in the edit, everybody. It'll be fine. Be fine. So welcome to the Grow Guides, everybody. We're going to be talking about lollipopping and mainlining cannabis plants this week. And if it's something you haven't tried before, you're definitely going to give it a go after this. Maybe not straight away. If you have plants in the right condition, then you should definitely give it a shot. But it's interesting. You're going to learn some things, hopefully. Don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't done that. Did you split the show up so you had chances to get the intro? Yes,
I think
that was it.
a great question. Thank you for
Yes.
asking, someone, but that's a great question.
Yeah, it's just something that I contemplated for a while. Should we break the show up into two pieces? Because I don't know, 3.5 hour show. It's a difficult video to click on, you know. And this way we can be more descriptive with the title, so people can see what the Grow Guides is about and see that we have the news. I don't know. It's a pain in the ass sometimes, but it's smoother sometimes. I don't know. What do you all think? We did the poll before, and people liked it this way as two separate videos.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was
I'd
like
say practice makes
slightly.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just extra practice time, and eventually I should be able to nail it at one point.
Clearly, we need it.
That's right. More practice. So make sure you come and join us next week. Well, you know, for the other streams, and eventually we'll get it right. We'll put a dead poll up. Be like, will they ever get it right? Which episode do you think it will be?
Okay, yeah, one episode for Grow Guides. All we're going to do is intros the entire time, and maybe one of them will be right.
Oh my God. A whole episode of intros?
Maybe something else.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so we're talking about lollipopping. Sorry, Marge, what you saying? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I'm confident, but about intros, not about lollipopping. So please proceed.
The downloaded version of the show, the intro is always beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah, and the transitions in between, all that as well. This is the live show, everybody. This is the live show, you know. Cool shit happens when it's live. That's how it is. But yeah, I was just mentioning there on the break that Monkey sent me some whiskey this week, everybody. So let's drink some whiskey. Let's do
Ooh,
it.
yeah. I don't have any with me, so I'll have to just
Yeah.
with you in spirit, you know.
Just in spirit. Ha ha ha.
Really, not spirits, but only spirit.
Yeah, so a sip of whiskey there, everybody. Let's get a little bit tipsy. Not too tipsy.
My edibles are kicking in, so I'm doing fine.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, Marge, it's on you then.
What?
You gotta control us a little bit.
Oh, come on now. You know
The
Marge
drugs are
already got
kicking
her
in.
edibles too now.
Yeah, thank you for the whiskey there, Monkey. It's delicious, man.
You're welcome, man.
Smooth. And I had a little bit of this forgotten strawberries as well. Because it's Christmas, everybody. You know, Christmas is coming. Just 8 days away now. Jesus.
Are you all ready?
I'd have to ask the missus that. I am merely the driver. Yeah, I think we're close to being ready. Nearly there. What about you, Marge? Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. We're doing Secret Santa, so it makes it way simpler.
Cool.
It's not really so secret, though. I already know who everybody has because people sort of let things slip as time goes. And I always end up going,
as they
"You want
do.
him?" But I know. There's
Oh,
no
wow.
secret. But
Shoddy Fusion said, "My kids found some of their stuff today," and it reminds me of let me tell you. We'll go on a little tangent here before we move on with the show. Of a little childhood story I have. So one year, my mother had got me and my brother a Super Nintendo for Christmas, and she got it early, and she wrapped it up and stuff, and she hid it, but we knew where it was hidden. So, like the little bastards we were back then, we got the box and we opened it up and we took out the snares and we fucking set it all up. We hid it, put the box back, and she didn't know about it for like fucking weeks. But eventually, yeah, we did get found out and we got a severe disciplining. Let's just say that. Yeah, but we
A talking to?
yeah, a talking to, a physical talking to. Damn. It was back in the 80s, man. You could get beat up by your parents.
I know
then. It was
exactly
allowed,
what you mean. Mhm.
And we shouldn't have taken the fucking SNES out of the box, little bastards. But damn, you couldn't resist to go play Mario World and shit, goddamn.
Who
Good
could blame you?
times. Good times, Damn. Yeah, so that's just a little story about how much of a little bastard I was. Yeah. I'm not so bad now, But what else we got? What are we talking about here? I'm just a little high now. We have taken a sip of the whiskey. We're smoking. Are we covering what we are smoking on again? What you got, Monkey?
I'm still using that same bowl of mango smile that I started off with. So
Nice.
about ready to change that. I'm looking around to see what else I got. But as the edibles are kicking in, I think I'm going to coast for a while.
Same.
Lame. Okay. I'm
No,
in.
I said same.
Oh, I thought you called
That's
me
not what
lame.
I
It's like,
heard, Marge.
Is he
Oh,
calling me
no.
lame? It's
I
like,
said
okay, I'll
that.
challenge you. You want to go? Let's go.
No, I said same.
Yeah.
Same.
The edibles had me feeling nice and comfortable, so that's kind of like a nice place to be,
I would never say lame to somebody who's eating apples. I'd be like, fucking A.
Lame.
Nice.
It sounds like something Mackie would say. That's something like, okay, you've been around Mackie too long.
Right.
Lame. And we're watching South Park, man. And, which episode? I can't even remember. Just how legendary is South Park to still be producing the content they produce after like 25 years, man.
I know it.
It's madness.
Nothing's sacred with them people.
Just so funny.
They'll attack any trend, any political thing. They don't care. They get on it.
You love that shit, man. Anyway,
we want our privacy.
I was watching. Which one was it, man? It was so funny as well. Well, I can't remember. It's just completely slipped my fucking mind. I was just watching it earlier. Just, some episodes just exceed all expectations, man. And you're just laughing all the way through at just how stupid the jokes are. And I'm really fussy with comedy. It's I don't know. I find it difficult for shit like that to make me laugh. But South Park just does it in a particular way that just gets me, man. I love South Park. It's too funny. I'm sure many of our listeners would agree.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason it's around. More popular.
Right then, shall we go and talk about some mainlining and lollipopping and cover some listener mail questions? I think it's time.
I guess we could do that,
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just gonna start talking about Christmas movies and stuff. That's for
Well,
next week's episode.
See, that's what happens when you give Mackie a bottle of whiskey. We go on tangents.
Be ready for more. Let's go. Let's go for the grow guys. See, now there's few things that are gonna be scary for new growers, man. One of those is topping. When you first start growing and you're like, you topping? You mean I just gotta cut the top off this plant? Why would I do that? Why are you talking about it? Why are you talking about? And it's very scary. But you learn to just do it. And another one of those things that is scary is lollipopping, man. And pretty much doing any kind of intense trimming. And also mainlining, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But when you do a lollipop, essentially what you're doing is you're taking off the bottom 2/3 of the plant. So the side branches, leaf, any bud sites, depending on what time you're doing the lollipopping. and it can be scary when you look at the amount you've taken off and see there's a bag or a bucket or a bin or whatever that is full of leaf and stem, and you're like, surely I've killed it now. Surely
Well,
this plant is
not,
dead.
not just leaf and stem, because when you're lollipopping, you're cutting buds off too. And that's
Mm,
the hardest part to do when you first learn how to lollipop, is to
mm.
remove the lower bud sites.
Ah, tragic.
It
But
is.
but the thing is, it will increase your yield. And I said earlier, it sounds counterproductive, but that's essentially what you're doing. You're getting rid of plant matter to make sure you get more buds at the end of the grow, and less trimming because there's
Oh,
less
that's
leaf and
always
stuff.
good.
Hmm.
Right.
Less small buds and things like that.
Definitely. Yeah. I hate that.
So we'll talk about some lollipopping first, and then we're going to discuss a technique called mainlining, which is also known as manifold, and that's
Mhm.
something that you do on quite a lot of your grows, don't you, Mookie?
Just about all of them. It's
Yeah.
some variation of that type of a grow. But
So we'll
and
talk about
and
that in a bit.
yeah, and there's advantages and disadvantages to it, which we'll get into. But first
Mhm.
of all, let's talk about doing the other part, because that's also a big part of mainlining, is learning how to properly lollipop.
That's right. So where do we begin? Your plant's grown. For me, I'll tell you what my technique is. Pretty much now, when the plants are growing, I just let them grow for like 4 or 5 weeks, and then I'll put it into flower. And I won't take anything off. I'll just let it do its thing, find its own structure. Maybe I'll do a little bit of low stress training, and I will top it when it gets to the fourth node. But I don't do any kind of lollipopping, doing any kind of intense trimming. Because in the past, I've seen the smallest lower down branches on a plant with enough training to grow up into one of the thickest branches on the plant. So I always think to myself, everything there has potential of being something fucking great. So just let it grow as much as possible until I get to 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I said it. Look at that. About two,
2 weeks.
about 2 weeks after I've gone to flower, maybe a little bit more. I like to see that the flowers are actually starting to form before I do my lollipopping, and that's pretty much to tell me that the regenerative growth is over. And if you do any of that lollipopping while in between the stretch stage, when the stretch is going on, that's the regenerative growth stage in between the veg and the flower. If you do any lollipopping or trimming, that's going to stress the plant out, and it makes it stretch like a motherfucker. So if you're
So
getting
let's
a lot of
talk about
stretch
that.
on your
Makes
plant,
it
yeah,
stretch
Monkey.
even more?
I
Is
was
that
gonna say,
what
Oh
let's
you
talk
yeah,
about
yeah, it's
that's really
savage.
a serious important point you're making here. Let's talk about time frame involved here. So we're
Mm.
talking about from the time you flip until when should we not touch anything on that plant. I mean, usually a time frame I like to use is if you wait 21 days after you
Yeah.
flip the 12-12, you should be clear of making that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to go a day or two earlier, but if you wait the 21 days, you're going to be clear.
It's better to go over than do it too soon, because if you
Have to
if
agree.
you take that shit off too soon, the plant's gonna stretch so bad, man. And it's like
It
I
can
haven't had
double
a
or
stretchy
triple
plant for
size.
years now because I do
So
the lollipopping at the right time. Sorry, Marge.
I just want to get this straight because I've done lollipopping before, but never been sure I've been doing it quite right.
Okay.
But basically what you're saying is that you wouldn't remove any of those lower branches until you've flipped your light cycle to the 12-12. And is it starting to bud? You're waiting till like about 3 weeks after
And
that point when
until
it's
I'm
maybe
seeing
starting to
pom
bud?
poms, not even just little
Right.
pre flowers and things like that.
Mhm.
When you
Like
see
actual,
flowers actually starting to form, when
You know,
you've got
not
like
right.
not
little
even
white hairs, pom poms on it, that's when
exactly
you
the
do it.
Yeah.
nice
Okay.
long white pom poms on it. You don't want just your almost buds. You want, you'll see the
Want
tips that
actual
start
buds.
swelling up, but you want
Right.
physical white hairs. And at that point, okay, safe. Your
And the
plant switched.
consequence of not being patient is that your plant is going to stretch up too tall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
That's
yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
okay.
It's
That
it's
explains a lot.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
When I first found out about that, it explained a lot because my plants would stretch like a motherfucker. But
Right.
once I've left, because when you first start growing, you're like, oh, you don't want to stress it out during the flowering period because it will hurt me, and
Mm-hmm.
it will die, it will get mold, it will do all this, and it's eventually you just start experimenting with. You're willing to try more things. So then when it went into the flowering stage, and you can see it's gone into it, and the stretch has stopped, then the plant's going to focus more on building flower, then building new stems and new leaf. So it can get stressed at that point, and if it puts any extra growth out, it goes into flower production rather than stem and leaf production. No stretch then. But it's you just have to wait for the right time, man, and it can be difficult to get that right time. It just takes a little bit of practice, but when you get the right place, you'll be fine.
Yeah, eventually you'll start to recognize exactly when that time is. But if you wait to the 21 days, you are not going to make a mistake at that point. But
and you can do a little bit in late veg. If you're going for a long veg and you're on like week 5 or 6 of veg and the plant's bushy as fuck, then feel free to take some off at the bottom. But it's that specific, 2 to 3 weeks in between the flip to the flowering stage, that regenerative stage of growth where it's changing. If you trim then, it's going to most likely cause stretch. And that's one of the reasons why stretch is caused as well. I think we covered that in one of the episodes in the past.
Yeah. Now, I do know I used to do this. I don't do it anymore, but I used to do a little bit of trimming before I flip. I would, take off a bunch of fan leaves, thin the thing out, thinking like, okay, let me give it some room to grow here. And so I'd do all of that stuff and then flip the switch with mixed results. Sometimes it would stretch, sometimes it was fine, but I don't know. What do you do? Do you leave it alone until after she's finished stretching, or do you do any trimming before you flip?
If I do, then I'll leave it a few days to make sure any stress is recovered before I do flip it to flower. It's just specifically that middle section, that changeover stage, man. You want to be very careful through that time not to stress the plant too much.
That's kind of where I'm at now. I mean, those are the early days, like you said, experimenting with it, reading different techniques, and before I actually decided what I like to do. And I'm pretty much like you. I like the plant to be comfortable, happy, and everything, and then flip.
Yeah, and the actual lollipopping stage, right? When you actually get to that bit, you're going to be surprised about how much you're going to take off the plant. And it's scary for a new grower to take that much off the plant, and you will be terrified, most likely.
Yes.
So what I would usually recommend, if it's just lollipopping you're doing, you just let the plant grow. You've done a little bit of low stress training, but it's not in a scrog or anything like that. It's just the plant standing there. You're gonna check out on all the top section of the plant where the canopy is, where it's getting the most amount of light, and then anything in the shadow underneath, then you want to really remove it, because it's not going to get enough light to be worth it. And most of the time, if it's not really worth it, then the plant will drop it off anyway. It's not going to waste energy on a leaf. It'll just drop it off. So it's not like these things don't do things. It's just it keeps things much tidier. It's more efficient for the plant to have the good light get into the good section. You have that whole inverse square law. The further away the leaf is from the light, the less light it's getting exponentially.
Right. And then by removing a lot of that lower canopy that we no longer need, we get better airflow through the canopy and lower humidity throughout our buds, which is much, much more desirable for everything.
And then the energy the plant would have spent making these smaller little buds further down the plant that are like in the shadow, it doesn't get a lot of light. The leaf there don't get a lot of light. So them buds down there, it's going to be small. But because the plant isn't spending the energy making those, it can spend more energy making the good shit at the top. Them big juicy colas at the top, and it's spending all its energy making good stuff, and it's not wasting time on the stuff underneath. Yeah,
I agree.
And then when you're harvesting, you know what it's like. For those who have harvested, you know what it's like, man. Where you've trimmed up all the nice big bud. You've taken off a branch, trim off that big juicy cola. Like, oh, look at the size of this cola. Isn't this a juicy, delicious cola? Look at that. And then you get to this fucking soggy little popcorn bud at the bottom, like
a quarter of a gram, and it's going to take you 5 minutes to trim this. That's a quarter of a gram that you really want to just throw in the trim bag, because that's where it belongs anyway.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah. But new growers are not going to do that, because a lot of times they're conserving. They haven't got any kind of yield up yet. They haven't got any reserves in their cabinet but yet.
Right.
So, but a way to avoid that is to do the proper lollipopping and get the good stuff in your cabinet instead of these little popcorn buds.
And that's right. And especially when you're growing indoors as well, like Monkey said there, with airflow. It's so important to keep good airflow. The mold spores are going to germinate in stale air, and if you've just got monstrous bushy plants that the air can't pass around properly, you're increasing the chances of mold spores germinating. You don't want that to happen. You got to get
Yep.
rid
No,
of all
that's
that
a sad
shit
day.
lower down.
Yep. And the more leaf you have, the more the plant is going to transpire, releasing humidity into the air around it and putting more humidity around those buds. Yeah, it's all a recipe for disaster. So lollipopping is going to help you avoid problems, so many problems.
That's right,
So where
man.
do we start with that, man? We know we got to do it.
So what I
So
do, let's say it's just starting to grow some nice little pom poms now, and I'm like, okay, it's time to do some fucking trimming. And you can use like a visual guideline if you want. You know, bricklayers, they put a piece of string out so they can lay the bricks down all level and even. So, you know, so it's structurally sound. You can pretty much do the same thing with your grow tent. If you just put a piece of string up, and anything below that piece of string can be taken off. You know, and that it's just a nice visual guide to have then. Anything down the bottom goes, you know, and small little branches as well. It might stretch up to the top, but you can see if it's going to be a weak branch or a strong one. Does it support its own weight nicely? Things like, you know, is it in good condition? Can it stand holding a nice fat bud on it? You know,
is there
if
room for it in the canopy? One of those things too. Is it
yeah,
overcrowding?
that's right, man. Because then buds fill out. You know, you don't want it to be too fucking full out.
Nope.
Yeah, well, you do, but you want it of the juicy stuff rather than loads of little things. You
Exactly.
know? So, yeah, I just make my way up each stem, and it's time consuming. It can take a while, and you want to be careful, of course. So I'd use just a pair of scissors. I don't do anything fancy. You know what I'm like. I don't do anything too fancy, man. I trim things off with my thumbnail and shit. I ain't crazy about it. You know, some people would say use a razor blade that's sterilized and do this and cool. Do that if you want to, man. That's another good way to do it. But I just use a simple pair of scissors. Snip, snip. That comes off. That comes off, and I make my way up the stem until about 3 nodes, sometimes 2, depending on how much the internodal spacings is. You know, if the top couple of inches of any stem that I think is getting a good amount of light in the canopy, then I'd stop there, and everything below it comes off. That's bud sites, that's leaf, that's everything. Just stem stays, and everything comes off underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, what's your technique, Monkey? How do you roll when you do yours?
Similar to you, because I grow in smallish tents, very smallish tents. I prefer to take the plants out for lollipopping so I can actually see what I'm doing. My standard support for plants is old school tomato cages, but you know what's great about tomato cages? They have rings, 1, 2, 3, which is just like Mackey's string you're talking about. The rings actually create nice visual lines on the plant for me. So I'll usually take it out, and I know depends upon the height of the plant as to where I'm going to lollipop it at. If it's a really tall plant, I got to take more off the bottom. If it's a shorter plant, probably less. And the reason for that is light penetration and air passing through the plant. But anyway,
And the ability to get to the medium to water it. You know what I'm saying?
that too,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great example because there's one. I just finished lollipopping a soil grow that I'm running, and before I lollipopped it, I was having a heck of a time watering the plant. I couldn't even see where the soil was. So yeah, that's really important to get all of that out of the way there. But anyway, when I'll take it out of the tent, I'll look at it, and usually after the flowering starts somewhere around day 21, after you flip, you can kind of see where the bud structure looks like it's going to be nice and dense. With experience, you'll see what I'm talking about. It doesn't look like, okay, this is kind of a bud, but as you get up top, more up to the top, you'll see that you're getting more dense white hairs, more full capacity on those things. So I'll pick my line. Well, the good looking buds, everything above that's going to stay, and everything below that, it just comes down. And I use something very similar to what I use for trimming the buds. I'll just go down there. I'll start with all the fan leaves below my line, and then I'll start coming up and removing all the other side shoots and stuff like that, even the small buds that are coming up. And we'll get into it. I'm a mainline grower, so I'm doing it 8 different times as I'm going up, but I'll pick a certain point on that, and everything comes off the bottom. I don't remove all of the fan leaves. A lot of people, when they're doing a lollipop, will remove all the fan leaves, top and bottom, on the plant after it stretches, thinking that they're going to want to go ahead and regrow that. I like to leave, if I can leave the fan leaves on the upper parts of it, some of them, not all of them, if they're in the inside of restricting airflow or light to get down into the plant, those will go. But some of those big fans, I like to leave them because the plant likes to store goodies in there, and sometimes it'll need that later on. And I get frostier, stinkier plants if I'm nicer and leave them a little extra reserves in there sometimes though. So, but anyway, everything, all that small buds, all those big fan leaves and stuff on the bottom. If there's any shoots coming up from the center, like I was talking about, that look like if they're even questionable, if they're looking, well, it might make something. No, it won't make. If it won't. It's one of those things that I've learned. If it doesn't look like it's going to be a good bud, it's not going to be a good bud. You can't really gamble on it. After the stretch is over, you'll know what you're going to keep. And but usually for me, it's half to 2/3 of the plant from the bottom that's got to come off. And I'll end up with a bucket full of leaves, and I guarantee you there's more green on the floor than there is on the plant when I'm done.
Yeah, 2/3 is about right, I would say. That seems about right for when I'm doing mine. 2/3 of plant matter comes off. Have you ever done something like this before, March? You ever done some lollipopping?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think based on what the questions I was asking at the outset of the show, I may have been doing it too early.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And it is
Yeah.
weird to take off that much as well sometimes.
It
I
does
even do
feel
this with
bad.
autos as well, because people might be thinking it's just only because we say flip to flower and things like that. But yeah, I'll do this with autos too. When autos start showing their flowers, then I'll do a lollipop on it to get rid of anything, but I don't think it's going to turn into a nice bud, you know?
Well, it would apply,
Exactly.
so this applies to like autos, photos, it doesn't really matter, right?
But this is
Nope.
my technique. I don't know what everybody else does. This technique works well for me, and I've been doing that for quite a while and had no issues. So that's
Yeah.
why I don't like to say that's the way to do it for anybody. They can all decide for themselves. But this is the technique I use for lollipopping on both photo periods and autos.
Yeah, for me, it was a learning experience when I first started to learn the lollipopping techniques. I was few grows in, got to learn how to do this the right way. I probably took off too little at first, and but over time, you start learning to read the plant, and you'll know exactly where to take off. Because anything below a certain line is going to be an inferior quality. You will definitely see that when you start harvesting your plants.
That's
And so
right.
after you've done that 2 or 3 times, you'll say, well, should have taken off a little bit more this
Yeah.
time.
After you've trimmed fucking thousands of little tiny popcorn buds that weren't
Yes.
worth the time, you'd be like, I'm fucking lollipopping the fuck out of this
Yeah.
next time.
And do yourself a favor with those little buds. Throw them in your trim bag and make edibles, right, Marge?
Yeah, I can't bother those popcorn nugs. They're just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But they're
Infuse
great
those
for
things.
edibles.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so lollipopping at the right time is key. And then when
Definitely.
you're doing it, like I say, I use a pair of scissors, but there's loads of little tools you can get, little pruning scissors. Sometimes stems can be a little bit tough for just a normal pair of scissors. So just having a pair of pruning shears, that would be cool to have as well.
Yeah.
And what I found as well, I know I like to do things in the simple way, like I said, with my thumb and my finger. But sometimes you have to be careful when taking off branches because it can strip skin off the branch as well. You don't want to cause any unnecessary stress to your plant while you're doing this. It's already going to be stressful enough because you're removing so much stuff. So, make sure you're using the proper tools and don't just try and wing it and strip bits off the plant and damage it where you shouldn't be damaging it.
Yeah. If it's your first time doing a lollipop, you will be shocked because the plant will look sort of naked. But do yourself a favor and take a picture then and take a picture a week after. You will not recognize your plant. They recover fast and they come back strong.
Yep, they love it.
They do.
It's just keeping the good stuff at the top and getting rid of all the top stuff is fine as it is. Leave the leaf, leave the bud, leave everything, leave it all as it is. There's nothing you have to do. It's all the stuff underneath that isn't going to get a good amount of light. If it's in shadow, the canopy at the top is too thick. It's further for nutrient. No, it's not further for nutrients. That's the other way around. You know what I mean? It's just I know it's scary for new growers, but it's just something that I just do with every plant now without even thinking about it. It's like, oh, it's at that stage. Snip, snip, snip. Pop that off.
Yeah.
Pop that off. Put a couple of hours aside and put a podcast on. Listen to one of our interviews or something, and just go and sit in the tent. Because I have 4 plants when I'm doing it, so it takes at least an hour. I'm trimming away around the plants. And the worst thing is as well, when you've done it all, and then you'll notice with your first plant, you start off, you're a little bit more conservative. You're leaving more on, and as you go around, you're taking more off. So by the 4th one, you're like, oh, that's much different from the first one. So you usually have to go back to the first one as well, just
Yeah, I
to
do
tidy
that.
it up a bit more as well.
I'll admit it. I've done that. Yeah.
But they're always fine. I've never had a plant like after all the plants that I've trimmed and lollipopped the fuck out of, at least 2/3 coming off it, and I'm always shocked at the amount that's come off it. But I've never had any plant be like, "Oh, that's it, I'm dead now," you know. They've all been absolutely fine. I wouldn't even say they've suffered any shock from it by what I've seen. I'm sure they must have, but really, after a couple of days, they're more like, "Oh, thanks for getting rid of all that shit. It was really holding me back," you know.
I
And then
don't
it
know.
starts smashing it.
I've not really researched it, but it seems like doing the lollipop, then it's, I mean, like you said, you're taking about 50% of the plant and throwing it on the ground.
At least.
Uh, yeah, it's crazy, crazy numbers what you're doing. But somehow or another, since that plant is in that perfect stage right there, switching over to flower, it really doesn't shock it like you think it would.
Yeah.
It just, they just switch gears and keep on going. It's like, oh, this is what you want me to do now? They take their cue and they keep on running. I mean,
Yeah.
scary as heck the first time. I ain't
Mad
lying.
Dog said they're water the plants first before you trim to. Well, what I would do, and it's because I'm in cocoa. I don't know what you would do in soil necessarily, but I'd water just a little bit first, just to get the plants to have a little bit of water in there, because you're gonna remove loads of shit, you know,
Yeah.
and that's gonna have that water in it when you remove it. So I like to water a little bit just to give them a little bit of water to reduce the stress. Do the trimming and then water them again afterwards. So then they've got like all the food they need to recover from all the stress that they've just suffered. That's
Yeah, in
just I don't
cocoa,
know any
they're always
science
wet
behind
anyway.
that. Yeah,
They're
yeah,
always
that's
wet
it.
in
Yeah.
cocoa, so no big deal
Hmm.
there. Now in soil, I prefer not to have water in the same day because I'd like to take them out the tent. I don't want that soil stays wet.
Right.
I don't want to get this water everywhere. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Do whatever works is what I'd say. I'm still learning on soil, so don't take my word on it.
Yeah, I assume that it's the plant's gonna want loads of food available to it when you do this stuff to it. So I think it would be good to give it a watering at least afterwards. Beforehand, not so much because you
Hmm.
know all that moisture is just going to go into the plant matter that you're removing anyway. But once you've done your whole trimming, and then you can do a watering after that, and the plant's got whatever it needs to recover from the stress, you know. But definitely fucking do it. It's a beautiful way to grow, and it's so tidy, so nice. It keeps the grow room much tidier, and you know it stops you trimming all the tiny popcorn buds.
Yep.
You know.
You're only gonna do that once, and then you'll realize that maybe I should have lollipopped.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
So and
remember someone saying, telling me that you didn't need the lollipop, that you could just grow au naturel and everything would be fine, all the buds would be good. Boy, did I trim a bunch of junk that go around. That's
hmm. Hmm.
definitely not the case to do it.
And it's like not necessarily the same when you're growing outdoors either, because the plant outdoors can have a lot more space to just fill out and
Yeah.
get have enough airflow around it and shit. It's getting loads of light from the sun. I'd say
Yeah,
it's more
I
important
about that.
indoors. Sorry,
So
Mark.
Yeah.
do you lollipop outdoors then typically, or is it just more for an indoor application?
Well,
I know
I can't grow
outdoor
outdoors,
growers.
but
I know outdoor growers that do some lollipopping. I don't know if it's,
Mm.
I believe it's different than we're doing in a tent.
hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, the thing is, in a tent, we only have so much energy we can give a plant. Like Mackie says, it's pretty much unlimited outside.
Yeah. Well, I do lollipop tomato plants, but not massively. You know, I don't. It's more like I'm taking stuff from the inside because it's such a bush. Yeah, it takes stuff from the inside of it, but leaves the stuff at the bottom that can get enough airflow and shit. You know, it's kind of a different kind of lollipopping.
Hmm.
As long as everything can get good airflow, you're pretty good, I think. But I probably do it just because it looks nice as well. You know, it's just so much tidier, so much cleaner. I like the lollipop because one of the reasons because it looks so tidy. And I've got that video on YouTube somewhere where if you search for Jack Howard Grow Diary, then it will take you through a scrog that I did a while ago, and you can see there's a difference underneath the scrog is all bushy, got loads of plant there, and then it cuts to where after I've done the lollipop, and you just see everything's been removed. And
Yeah,
it's
good
a
point
shocking
there.
amount of plant, man. It's a shock. You'd see it and think, what the actual fuck? And plants are gonna die, but they don't, man. They flourish after that.
Yeah, the lollipop on a scrog is just removing everything from the soil all the way up to the netting. That's your lollipop. And so what you're doing without a scrog, you're duplicating that process.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to do this shit. You know, you got to give it a try. You know, unless you're going outdoors, maybe leave it. But if you're indoors, definitely do some lollipopping. Just get rid of that lower stuff that isn't gonna grow into anything nice. But the trimming can start much sooner as well. I recommend you top every one of your plants when you're growing indoors. You know, you're gonna top it around the fourth node, then you're gonna let it grow out, do a little bit of training, then you're gonna do your lollipopping. But you can go even more extreme with the trimming beforehand as well. And this is something Monkey does with the mainlining or manifolding. It's called. It's got a couple of different names. You want to explain that process, Monkey, of you know, I know you have your own way of doing it, but what's the official way of doing a
Yeah.
manifold or a mainline?
Well, to what I know is the official way of manifold or mainlining was developed by a fellow named Nug Buckets, I believe. And his theory was basically that if you can create the same length of piping to every bud site, so that if the stem is the same length and makes the same amount of turns to everything, and if it's the most direct, straightest path, you quote unquote, everything gets a main line of nutrients to make your plant grow healthier. So his strategy on mainline is you take a plant grown from seed. You have to have an apical dominance to actually get a mainline going easily. It can be done with a clone, but it's not easy and it's messy. It doesn't look as good. But anyway, from a seed with apical dominance, the recommendation was to let the plant grow to 5 nodes tall and then top it at the 3rd node. And then remove nodes 1 and 2 as well. So you're only leaving the 3rd node. So I leave one, one fan leaf on each side and just top it right there at the node. And that's the hardest cut you're ever going to make, because you just basically completely destroyed your plant, or as you think you did. It looks pretty bare at that point.
Yeah.
So then you're going to go ahead and let it. What happens is the magic is now you remove the dominance from the top node, and you've transferred that to the 2 side nodes that are going to come right out at where the leaf meets the stem. You'll have 2 new growth tips come out. And so you're going to let those growth tips come out, and then you won't usually let those go out. The way I do it, and I don't remember the way Nug Buckets specifically said to let this happen. I just go let those side shoots grow to 3 nodes long. Then I cut the end 2 nodes off of them. So I have now got 2 stems coming out that have both been topped, and that's going to give me 2 more off each of those. So I started with 1, I topped it, that gives me 2 stems. I topped those, that gives me 4 stems. Okay. Now you're going to have to sit down there and let that grow out a little bit longer. And that's again going to grow out till it gets 3 nodes long, and then I'm going to cut it again at that first node. So now I went from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 4, and now I'm going to go 4 to 8. And because the way you're doing this now, each side is going to have exactly the same zigzag of limbs, of stems, so that each stem is the same length from the root. This was his theory that everything's going to be even. It's going to have you nice, even, big, long colas here. And as it grows out, then you take and you start separating these branches so that you're going to actually get them 8 separate colas. You're trying to position them around the clock, eight different points, like an octagon around there. And you're going to stake them straight up. And that's all of that lower stuff, the stuff that's going to come out in the middle. You don't want any of that stuff right there. So you're going to try and grow just those 8 mains that you trimmed for. And I know it sounds like a lot of cutting, and it's going to take a lot of time to do it. And at first it does. But there's a magic that happens, because what usually happens with a cannabis plant, if it's left untopped, it grows like a Christmas tree, because the top node has what's called apical dominance. There's a hormone produced by the taproot that causes the top, since the top of the plant is furthest away from the hormone, it grows fastest. So what you have to do now is you have to break that dominance so that the rest of the plant is going to grow fast as well. When you top it 1, now you end up with 2 dominant tops. So both of these tops are now dominant, and they're going to be growing at roughly the same rate, but faster than the rest of the plant. Then what you'll do is you cut those, and now when you split the amount of hormone that each of these tops is dealing with, but when you cut it again, you're going from half to a fourth, and by the time you cut it the third time, the hormone levels in these tops has gone to such a low level that now all bets are off and the growth accelerates like nothing you've ever seen. It's exciting when it finally happens, but you're basically completely breaking all dominance on the plant and causing the plant from every node to start growing as fast and as strong as it possibly can from every node. And that's the secret behind mainlining. But mainlining involves starting at node 3, and it's 3 toppings to get 8 mains to go straight up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's so clean and tidy.
It
Mainlining
is.
cannabis plant is just so fucking nice. But it
And
is
as I
scary.
said,
It's like you say, you let it grow to the 5th node, and then you're taking it off above the 3rd node. It's like, damn.
and you're
It's a big
even
trim.
taking off the bottom 2 nodes while you're
Mhm.
doing it. It's like, oh, you don't need any of this stuff.
That's right. And then it looks like a little T shape, and you want to shape out your do a little bit of training on the nodes as they grow longer as well, right? You say you go to the 4th, but you go just past the 3rd and then trim it.
I just cut off. I trim between the 3rd. Oh, you're talking about on the side shoots?
On the side shoots, yeah. How long do you let them go before you trim?
Because I'm lazy and because I have a small tent, I'll let them grow out till they're 3 and then trim at the first. Because
Right.
the first node's always going to go. The nodes they're offset 90 degrees to each other, and the first node's going to go left and right, and then the second node's going to go up and down. So
Right.
I want a left-right node because I'm trying to go ahead and spread these branches around the circle. So I want to I like those angles. So I'm always gonna cut at an odd numbered node, so I have that better angle on those things like that. But because I'm impatient, I want to get the stuff done as fast as I can. I always go at the first node. It's risky. You can make mistakes because the plants are so young and the stems are so thin, and you do have to be careful. If you're afraid of this, you can always go from the first node, maybe go to the 3rd node and do a little extra trimming. There's a lot more than one way to do this stuff.
Yeah,
There's
I think the original what was his name? Nug Musher, did you say?
nug buckets.
Nug buckets.
Nuggets.
Is you would let the plant grow up and do the T-shaped thing, like we said. You let it grow to the 5th node, top above the 3rd, take away the 2nd and the 1st, so you're left with just the 2 side shoots and the 2 fan leaf on the 3rd node. You let those side shoots grow out until they get to the 4th node, and then you top above the 3rd again. You get rid of the 2nd, so you just on each side shoot you're just left with the 1st node and the 3rd node, and you know you've topped it again, and then you let those side shoots grow out and they'll turn into colas. That's the way I think it's done by nug buckets.
Yeah, there's different ways to do it, and there's even some modifieds. I mean, I very frequently run what I call a modified mainline. My modified mainline only tops twice to do it. I top at the 3rd node, but leave the second and 3rd on the plant, and then top this both when those 2nd and 3rd nodes start growing out. I'll top those again, so that'll give me 8 right there. But I'm dealing with a little bit difference in the stem there, but I find that that's usually a pretty good approximation of a classic main line, and it's much faster. Nebula Hayes has a modification that she's done to where she lets, after she tops at the 3rd node, she lets that node grow out a little bit longer. And then when she tops the 3rd node, she lets 2 of the other branches that are coming up straight up from that stem as well go up. So she's only topping twice and letting some other auxiliary stems come up. So yeah, you can experiment and figure out what works for you, what works in your tent with your growth situation, modifying your main line. There's no shame in that. If you can get something that works better for you, by all means. And I'd like to hear it. Come over to Percy's and show me, because I've been playing with this now for a few years. I got a few things I like, and every time I see something else new, I love trying it. So yeah, let's do it.
It's a nice way to grow, especially if you like to keep a nice, organized, tidy looking tent. Then mainlining is definitely something. It's just so equal and balanced and level. It's beautiful to see. Just efficient, you know. It's an efficient grow.
Now, the one thing that most people won't consider about mainlining, that I found the biggest reason that I love doing it so much is when trim time comes. You know, when if I'm growing in a classic mainline, I'm growing 8 mains with nothing else. Sometimes if I have, like Mackie says, sometimes you'll find an intermediate stem in the middle that looks good when you're lollipopping. At the most, I'll be trimming 8 mains and maybe 3 other auxiliary mains in there. So it's not a whole lot, but I'm trimming these nice, long, skinny colas, not skinny, but fat, but long,
Quality over quantity,
yeah,
just
not
yeah.
these little short
Mhm.
things that are all leafy, but it's nice and long. So all I really have to do is buck off these buds off the main stem and knock off a few sugar leaves, and I'm done with the trimming. Quality done mainline and quality grown long, nice, uh, dense buds are so much easier to trim than a plant that's left to go larvae and terrible. You'll do twice as much work and take twice as long on a non-trimmed plant than you
and
will on
and
on
you
a
probably just trim it
quality
off,
trained
and
plant.
you trim it off anyway at the end, and you're not going to use it anyway.
No.
So you could have had that and put it on the bigger colas if you lollipopped earlier on.
Hmm.
And that's where you need to do these things. And as we say, it can be scary because you're taking so much off the plant, especially as a new grower. But over
Mhm.
time, you're going to realize just how much these plants can take, man. They are absolutely fucking savage. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
When I first
Mhm.
started, I read about mainlining and I actually thought it was so stupid because again, I'm thinking, look at all the time I'm going to waste here. You're a new grower. You're
Hmm.
trying to get to the finish line fast. And so you're telling me you want me to grow this plant for a month and you want me to go and cut it in half? It just didn't make any
Yeah.
sense. But when you do it, you'll figure it out. Once you get the plant in the right configuration and it's growing the right way, it just takes off
Hmm.
and it's quality. Yeah.
Yes, man. It's a good way to do it. Check it out, everybody. If you're gonna try any of these, well, you have to do lollipopping. It's like lollipopping is not optional if you're growing indoors, in my opinion. You need to really do this shit to get the best out of your plant. You're just gonna have crap growth on there, but the plant isn't gonna work well with anyway. So definitely do some lollipopping on your plants. Mainlining is more optional, but it's a nice way, like Monkey said, nice organized grow. Everything's efficient. The trimming is so fucking easy at the end, and it's a beautiful way to grow, man. You got diaries over on Percy's with a mainline, Monkey.
Yeah, I did the LA peyote kush, the LAPK seedsman grow. I
Hmm.
did a diary in there that explained both my classic mainline and then the modified mainline with pictures and everything else like that are pretty easy to follow. I think Turpo actually had followed that and he's doing mainline now, and actually his mainlines are looking, I hate to say it, better than mine sometimes.
Nice.
So would you just search like mainlining on Percy's and you'd
Uh,
find those
I'm
diaries?
probably going to go ahead and put a link in my profile at Percy's for previous diaries with that in there, and people could look for it
Okay.
there. But it's in completed diary section, and it would be Monkey Grows LA Peyote Kush, Seedsmen Grow Off. It's a really old diary, about 3 or 4 years ago. But
Mhm.
I tried to write it in such a way that it was a documentary situation for mainlining. So it seems to have all the information there.
Yeah.
But I'll make a link, make sure that link's available to everybody.
And if anybody wants to do this as well, then we have Percy's for a reason, man. You come over, you can upload a picture of your plant and say which bits do I take off, which bits do I keep, and then we can upload it again with little circles around what you need to do. We can help you with all of that shit. So if you do need any help, if you're unsure of anything, like which nodes do I take off, can you help? Yeah, we can help you out, man. Just come
Oh
and
yeah,
upload a picture, and let us know.
that's one thing you'll find at Percy's is I don't care how many times we've answered the questions, we still answer them again because we
Mm-hmm.
understand what it's like to be a new grower. You don't know everything yet.
You never will. You get close
No,
maybe, but you just got to keep learning more. It's a good hobby. Everybody should be doing it, and you should do it any way you want. If you don't want to do any lollipopping and mainlining, then that's up to you, and it's your growth. If you don't want to top it, that's up to you too. We just we want everybody to find their own way of growing and make it like their signature method. You know what I mean? Do
hmm,
your thing, man. Do what's right for you, and it's different for everybody. Yeah.
I would have to agree with that.
So yes, of course, if you have any questions, you know where to find us. But we have some listener mail questions that we should get to. Should we do those? Is there anything to add here with mainlining and lollipopping?
No, it's one of those visual things. And like Mackie
Mm-hmm.
said, always remember, always that we're at Percy's. We're always at Percy's. And if you need information for any of these topics, if you can't figure it out, come to Percy's. We'll give you the information and we won't even give you any hassles about it.
Mm-hmm. That's right, man. Don't be shy. So, in listener mail, we have from Gellert here. I'm sure it's been covered before, but was wondering what amendments are needed when wanting to reuse Soham soil. I'm coming to the end of my current run and would ideally like to use the same soil for my next grow. Thanks as ever. Any ideas there, Monkey? What would you do?
I say I'm not that much of a soil grower
Yeah,
for
true.
cannabis. I mean, I know how to do it for my other crops and my flowers and whatnot that I'm doing. I
Yeah.
would hate to give you a recommendation because I'm just learning, re-amending myself. I made TG's mix and I'm still going through my first barrel of it.
Yeah.
So I
What
haven't
about
re-amended yet.
what about you, Marge? You're a soil grower. What do you renew your soil or
I
do you?
haven't. I would just mix up like again, like Monkey said, TG's super soil mix. I would make up a big,
Mhm.
like huge bit of that and just I wouldn't re-amend, I would just use it and then
Right.
have more when I need it. Because I've made a bunch to start.
See, I used to re-amend mine. It wasn't too much of a problem. What I would like to put in it, it was just some new compost or compost, whichever way you want to call it. That stuff.
Compost.
Yeah,
That's stuff.
the homemade stuff is the best. If you can use that, then that's cool. I would put like a third of that back into the soil mix. But to do it properly, you'd really need to test the soil to find out what's lacking in it, and then provide organic amendments accordingly. And we did cover that in one of the episodes, organic amendments and shit. It's a complex one. It's complicated. But yeah, some compost, some vermicompost. If you got some worm shit, damn, yeah, fucking add like 10% of that to your mix. If you have 100 liters, add 10 liters or something. I don't know what the exact thing is. I'm pretty, I just like to mix it up and then be like, yeah, that'll be fine. It'll do fine, and they do fine.
Mhm.
You can add some bone meal if you want to, but there's always concerns with using that kind of stuff because of heavy metals and shit that might be in there, but you don't want to be putting into your soil. Fish blood and bone. I'm not sure how much either. Top dressing is good. That can work too. If it starts to run out towards the end, you can do some top dressing. But that's what I used to do. Just bone meal, chicken manure. Chicken manure was a good one. When I added that to the soil, the plants really fucking like that. So yeah, chicken manure, some worm shit, some compost, and that seemed to get everything running again nice and smoothly.
So
Yeah,
that's
the
all you're
chicken.
doing. You're adding poo and compost.
Pretty much,
You
yeah.
recommend it. Okay.
Just say it the way it is. Yeah, any poo.
They like shit. Yeah, there's some teas, adding some teas to it is good. But I was never a good soil grower. I mean, it's not like I was a bad soil grower. The plants would come out fucking decent, but
Mhm.
they would start to get deficient in things towards the end. So I don't know. Cocoa is much easier for me. I understand that it works.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, as long as you know your nutrient, what I call the nutrient curve about what you need when. It's
Yeah. And that's why we say to everybody, figure out what works right for you. But keep trying new things. It's not like you should find a way that works and then not try new things. You should definitely try new things as well. It's a hobby,
Mhm.
isn't it?
It is a hobby. It's supposed to be fun too.
Right.
Postman Wayne in the chat said, would Mackie like Marge to make him a batch of Turkish delight for Christmas? Jesus.
Wait a minute. Mallory says she hadn't quite perfected her recipe yet, though.
It's I wouldn't say no. I'd try it still. I
I
might
don't know
enjoy
if it'd be
it.
the best example of Turkish delight were I to make it for you, but I still think you should enjoy some over the holidays.
Oh, I'll try.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna ask you about that. I'm like,
All
so how
right.
was the turkey delight?
There will
Or
be questions. There will be a test at the end.
real big questions. That's right. Maybe even a
Mhm.
poll happening in the chat. I don't know. There could be a variety of things.
Yeah, so we've got
Keep
that
it-
with that question there, man. Just if you go and ask on the forum because there's more like professional soil growers over there that will know what they're talking about. I don't know how they amend their stuff, but that's how I used to do mine.
Recharge and that's
Mm.
two. Come on, this I should know this because I've read it so many times. But the Mango Smile's got my brain
Eco
not thinking the way it's
Thrive,
supposed to.
Insect Frass.
There you go. Recharge and what's the other one? Yeah, there's two of them that people have been talking about a lot over
And
there.
actually, because you're using Soham as well, I think you might be able to look at the Soham website, and they have the amendments which they would recommend specifically for their soil.
Yeah, I know
Try
Build a
that.
Soil does. Yeah,
Yeah, and build a soil as well. Yeah, they're going to
Jeremy.
have soil amendments.
Mm-hmm.
Compost is always good. That's got just, especially if you've got like the leaf from old grows, and that's turned into compost, man. That's like essentially exactly what cannabis plants need. That's everything right there.
Yeah,
Because it's come from the plant, and the plant knows what it wants. So you just get that, give it back to the plant again via some worm poop. Pow, onto a winner. That's perfect.
and
shit.
you're in. Yep.
Yeah, but, so we have another question here from Cookie Grow. Is what does everyone do with their plants that harm?
Depends.
Yeah.
I've never had a plant Hermie on me.
Lucky Marge.
Anyway,
Yes.
knock on wood there.
But saying that as well, it's been a long time since I have too.
Well, I mean, it depends on the type of Hermie we're talking about here. Like late flower bananas, or that's no big deal. It happens frequently if I push too hard. Recently, I had one that when I lollipop that I found two balls on the lower part of the canopy. I'm just letting it grow because I'm only growing it for flower, so I'll be fine. Most of the time, I just keep going. Honestly,
No,
if it's a bad,
kill.
if it's a bad Hermie, or if it's early on that I see that it's a Hermie, it's out of here.
Yeah,
but if I got time invested to it and it's starting to flower or something like that, I'll usually try and save it if I can.
Yeah, man. Whenever I see if I see nanas, it's very rare I see nanas nowadays. Genetics seems to be getting better, or I'm just using better genetics. Maybe I don't know, but I don't. It's been a long time since I've had a Hermie.
If
Maybe
you push them hard enough and long enough in the end, they'll go. You'll get nanas. I mean, it's just natural. It's part of what the plant's trying to do.
And that's it. So many things have to be taken. If it's early on, like if you just
early,
flip to flower and you're 2 weeks in, 2 weeks,
2 weeks,
you start seeing balls forming, then fucking get rid of it.
Yeah.
Go again, But if you're on week 10 and you're starting to see fucking male flowers forming, and it's a bit shit, but you're gonna push it for another couple of weeks, ain't you, to finish it off, and maybe it will have seeds in it, and if so, then you're just gonna have to fucking make hash, man. It'll be all right, It's not the end of the world. You're gonna have something, and for a while, sometimes maybe it's good to have buds with seeds in it to remember what it was like back in the day, and how lucky we are now to have the quality of cannabis that we have.
Like somebody explained to me, though, if you got a strain that's spec'd for 8 weeks and you see nanners at 6, it's not going to have time to make seeds in those 2 weeks that you got left to go. So you best just pluck the nanners out and keep on rolling.
Yes,
you're fine. Yeah.
And that's something that you have to consider as well. It does take time to make those seeds. So it's not like you have to kill it. It's something that you should definitely get a second opinion on. It's a good thing to, if you suspect a Hermie, then get over on Percy to get a second opinion, so you can make that like as a collective decision, because it's a big one to kill the plant or keep it. You have to get some help on that one. Yes, good question, man. Well, I've had Hermies in the past, but I didn't realize were Hermies until I've dried the bud and then be like, why is there a seed in this? Oh, that's unusual. And then smoke another joint and be like, oh, why is there 3 seeds in this? That's yeah, not cool, man. Not cool. But it's not the end of the world at the same time. Just get rid of them if it's too early. Keep them if it's late. It's a difficult question. If you have a Hermie in specific and you want to know, should you get rid of it? Then I hope that helps, man. Otherwise, come and ask on Percy's for a better description and put a picture up. So we got one from Savance here as our question. The true characteristics of a cultivar. 1, scoping trichomes. He says, rhetorical question. Who's to say when the time is right? And 2, die on the vine. It's an interesting question.
From a purist point of view.
I'm going to go scoping the trichomes versus dying on the vine, because
I would
dying
have,
on the vine, I mean, come on, you've passed your prime as far as cannabinoids and terpenes and everything.
I just like also getting out the scope. Really, it makes me feel
Yeah, yeah,
science.
that's right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the smell. I know when the plants are
That's the
done.
plant.
Yeah, it smells different, man. When that shit is ripe, ready for the chop, man, and it's at peak terpene production, peak cannabinoid production.
I'd say the
It's
smell
just
plus the color of the buds. Now it's
yeah,
that
yeah.
that is one that you can't describe. It's, you have to actually experience it. The trichomes look a little bit different color when you start getting close to
It
ripeness.
looks frostier. Yeah,
It's that they're slightly more beige looking and denser, kind of frostier. Light hits them and it goes differently through them, or thing like that. Plus, you start getting like the little highlights of red or maybe blue or purple or something like that. Right on the tips of the bud, you start seeing all the little colors come into bloom. I mean, all classic signs of ripeness.
mm.
Yeah, and then I'll break out the scope just to kind of verify my suspicion, kind of thing,
But at the
But
same
I like
time,
the scope, Marge. I love the scope too, though.
Yeah.
I think die on the vine is just dangerous, and if you're gonna just leave it there to die on the
Ooh,
vine, and it's more likely to go moldy and shit like
that's
that. But
for
I'd be
sure,
concerned about
man.
that, man. But it would definitely be nice to try it. It's gonna be similar to dry trimming, isn't it? You just let the plant fucking die and dry out and harvest it when it's done. It's gonna be an interesting way to do it.
I guess somebody's done it. I have not. I don't have
Mm,
the opportunity to do that. Like I said, I'm more worried about that being mold. Anytime
yeah.
I've let anything go long like that, it just didn't go well.
Mm, yeah. Interesting one, man. Let us know how you do it, bro. From a
Yeah,
purist point of view, when is it done? It's definitely the smell for me. The smell, the frostiness, the look of iridescence on the plant when you can tell it the life is coming to an end. It drinks less. You can tell
it
when it
eats
reaches
less.
old
It
age.
drinks
Yeah, yeah.
less. Yep. The top sugar leaves start having a different look about them. They start getting crispy around the edges and turning yellowish, and
Mhm.
little things like that. All signs of saying, okay, it's time to go.
Yeah, man. So now we have a question from Billy Bonds here. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
and it's not too bad for Billy, this one. What do you want in your Xmas stocking this year? It's an interesting question, because as we get older, it's like we don't really, when you're adults, you get what you want when you want it. It's not like, oh, I'll buy that for myself for Christmas and shit. You know, but
No, that's
what
very true.
you
That
know
is
what
very true.
what would you want? And I thought, what would I want for Christmas? I don't know, man. I don't fucking know what I want. I don't want anything. I'm cool. I'm chill. I have weed. It's cool. Yeah, I'll have 2 mil. Give me 2 mil, and I'll even take that in dollars. It doesn't even have to
2 mil.
be
Yes,
pounds.
stuff
Two
is
mil.
stocking with
You know.
hundreds,
There we
please.
go. Anything else, it'll be like, yeah. It's cool. It's all right.
Right.
But 2 minutes, it'll be like, fuck yeah, okay.
I know what
Now
I'd
that
put in
kind
your
of changes
stocking
the
though,
game. You know.
Mac. I know what I know what I would put in your stocking.
What would you do? Not
A
Turkish
turkish
delight.
delight, of
Oh, for
course.
fuck's sake. No, March. No, you don't know how this Christmas thing works,
You
obviously.
said
You know?
you didn't even know
Oh,
what you wanted,
oh,
so there you
it
go.
must be for you. Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I do it anyway.
That's trick or treat, that one, Marge.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. What would you want, Marge? What would you want for Christmas?
well, we had like the fam's doing like a Secret Santa, so we all had to do the same thing, which is write a Christmas list. And everyone said the same, which is like we're all adults now. What do you ask
Mm-hmm.
somebody to buy for you that you wouldn't already buy for yourself
Mm-hmm.
anyway?
It's
Mm-hmm.
hard, isn't it?
Yeah, because most of the time it's like if yeah, there's a couple of cannabis cookbooks that I asked for because I'm like, do I really feel like spending my money on that? And if somebody else will buy it for me,
I get you.
sure, sure. But yeah, so I'd take something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really have to, for an adult, you have to kind of think about what wouldn't they splurge for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
what item
Yeah,
would they might like that they wouldn't buy for themselves, like a
yeah,
cannabis cookbook.
yeah. Because I already have several, but there is one that I was like, ooh, I wouldn't mind that one, but I already have a bunch, so I don't want to spend my money on it, but I'll let somebody else do it.
Nice. What do you say, Monkey? What do you want?
Um, Same thing I always want, and I usually get it every year. Is the kids come home for Christmas, and I don't
But
care
that's
what
not gonna
else
fit in
happens
your
beyond
stocking, bro.
that.
Gotta
Yeah,
go in the
I'll
stocking.
get a big ass stocking, and they can sleep in it on Christmas Eve and be here in the morning. Yeah, if that's what it takes.
That's it, man. When you get older, it's not about the gifts and all that. It's just having a good time with the important people in your life, isn't it? That's the most important thing.
Right.
As cliche
Yeah.
as that sounds, I
Yeah,
agree.
but that's how it is, isn't it? Yeah, but
It is,
2 mil
but
would also be nice if there's any
oh yeah,
extremely wealthy listeners out there. Then
right. You got
yeah,
any billionaires in the chat?
come on,
Because
there's got to be a
you know,
couple of you by now. Come on,
yeah, of
what are
course.
you doing?
Of
What are you
course.
doing?
They
It's
got their own grow rooms.
just 2 million. I would say just one, but the government's gonna take half of that. You know,
Right.
you know how they roll.
Yeah, you can barely
Yes.
get by in a mill these days.
Mm-hmm.
Barely. You can barely get by in a mill. Yeah. Yeah, so interesting question. Let us all know in the comments, man, if you guys are out there listening on the YouTube. Let us know in the comments what would be the perfect thing you would want for Christmas. What kind of present would you want in your grow room this year? Let us know. And then also Billy, and I mentioned this earlier on I think it was in the Grow Guides, but he came up with a term the other day when I was speaking about my weed like being nearly dry. He's like, yeah, is it dealer dry? So is dealer dry a recognizable description of a curing stage for your weed? And I
Yeah, I
always
think
say,
the dealer dry would be okay. It's out of my dry intent, hadn't been cured, go sell it. Dealer dry.
Dealer dry. So I thought it was a good term, that just that twilight zone stage in between it being taken from the branches and put into tubs to being dry enough to actually get a nice grind out of it. It fluffs up nicely. Jesus, yeah, dealer dry. Funny term. What do you think, Marge?
Sure. How
Sure.
good's your color?
Yeah, very true. Indeed.
Like
Yeah, how
so
good's the
relevant.
dealer?
Yeah.
Shit.
Dispensary dry. I mean, I've seen some dispensary dry stuff that's like dust.
That's
Right,
that's another stage of drying it. Dispensary
Exactly.
dry is too dry.
That's
Dealer dry
right.
is too wet,
Yeah. You can't win.
Shit. Yeah, we should come up with some phrases for different stages of dry. Funny. Yes, nice questions. We had some good questions there. I don't think were there any in the chat that I missed? I can't.
There was one from Savans asking if I had any information as far as the name that strain comp goes.
Right.
And the only answer I can say is I ran everything that I went through it myself, picked the list of the ones that I thought were okay, at least acceptable, ran them by Mackie, and Mackie only liked one, and it was the one he suggested.
Yes.
So I've got to get with the other people who have actually tasted this strain or grown this strain and see what they're thinking on it, though. But
I think everybody can agree, right?
yeah,
For some reason, the term 2 weeks has become something that is just, it's part of the
that's
podcast.
what he think. He wants it to be 2 weeks.
Strain called 2 weeks, man. You know what I'm saying?
And I knew it when I went with the competition. I knew somebody.
But it works as well, because everybody's like, "Why'd you call it 2 weeks?" It's like because remember Total Recall when that lady's head started splitting. That's what it feels like when you get stoned on this shit, man. This just fuck you up, bro. It's called 2
You
weeks.
forget what
be
you
like,
said.
2 weeks, 2 weeks,
2 weeks.
Your face will open up.
So he's trying
Makes
to
your
sell
head
it right
explode. You know what I'm saying? 2 weeks, brother. Come on, everybody in the chat agrees. Yes.
So I will. I'll be putting something in the thread asking for people who have actually experienced this little bit thing like that. Then I will start a group message, and we'll go ahead and discuss and figure out what we're going to do. But again, ultimately, I hate to say it, it's going to be my choice, but I would like to know what everybody else thinks about it, though. So I already know what Mackie thinks.
Yes, that's right. 2 weeks, motherfucker.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So that's one vote for 2 weeks.
Yes. Lots of votes for it. Get over on the forum and get involved, everybody, and try and sway him in the right direction. We know this has to be called 2 weeks. Funny. Right, that's all the questions, man. I think we're all done. I think that's Lollipopping and Mainlining covered as well. And of course, as usual, man, just like every other episode, if you have any questions or if you want to know more, you have any specific insights, then head over to forum, man. Start a thread over there or join a thread and comment on things, get involved with the posts and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
You don't bite. Nope, not at
Mhm.
all. Very friendly people over there. We have a good rule over there, people who are mean, they don't stay there very long. So you're welcome to drop by and feel unhassled.
Yeah. Jareth in the chat said he's going, look, I need a hug on Christmas, Mackie. My grow room got shut down and I'm moving to a group home. That's lame, man. That's lame.
Oh man, that is hard, really bad.
But at times like these, you got to try and. There's a lot of philosophical shit people can say at these times, but there's one thing, like there was a saying about a guy, I think it's a Chinese proverb or something, and anytime anything happens to him, whether it's good or bad, then the answer is always, it's maybe it's good or maybe it's bad. You never know what comes from this. From these bad things that happen, these bad experiences, sometimes it's a big turning point in your life for something important to happen to make it better in the future. Like for example, the guy's son fell off the horse and broke his leg, and his neighbor's like, "Oh, that was unlucky." And he's like, "Yeah, maybe." It's like, what are you talking about? His son broke his leg. Surely that's bad. It's like, yeah, maybe it's bad. And then 2 days after he's had this discussion, his son's got a broken leg. The country goes to war and they start recalling, drafting all of the kids who was his son's age, but obviously his son can't go now because he's got a broken leg. So it's a maybe. Just try and just to think about this opportunity all the time, man. It might seem like bad times, but it can be good times too. Just stay strong.
Yes, sir.
I hope that makes sense and I didn't ramble too much. Yeah.
You rambled, but it made sense anyway.
Yeah, we got there. It's a Chinese proverb.
Rambling
Long,
sense.
isn't it?
Ancient
Yes,
Chinese proverb.
good session. And this will be the last Grow Guides until after Christmas and New Year now as well. So, go back and check out some of the other episodes, man, because there's lots out there now. This is episode 95. Let's go check them out. And we'll be back with, what's the next one? I think the next one is, because it'll be the first Grow Guides of the year, we'll be looking at cannabis events that are going on and cannabis tourism throughout 2024 to let you know what you can book throughout the year. So that's going to be the next Grow Guides episode. But that's it. Should we go to the outro? We done?
Let's do that. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Look at that professional outro fade. Look at that. Yes. So there we go. That's the Grow Guides this week, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't done that already. Share if you can, and all of that. Is any music starting? Anything going on that's not supposed to happen? Yeah, it looks so good. It looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thanks for your questions, everybody. Yeah. Great information. Thanks, panel. Oh, thanks for being here, man. Don't forget to go download episodes. We like downloads. We're on like 680,000 now. It'll be 1 million before we know it. It's crazy, man. Incredible.
Yeah. You see what Pagan put up in the chat higher up. He said, I recently shouted 2 weeks at a family member.
Nice. Nice.
That's how you know a fan.
That's right. That's right. Did you listen to High on Homegrown? Yeah, let me test you. 2 weeks. Imagine two people in a grow shop. And one of them says 2 weeks, and the other one goes 2 weeks, and the other one goes 2 weeks.
It's echo across that like a wave. 2 weeks.
The guy behind the counter, and he's looking at him like, "What the fuck is wrong with these guys?" Yeah, that would be hilarious. Yeah, man. So it's funny, these things that have just become part of the show, Funny.
Yep.
Yeah, so happy Christmas, everybody. I mean, we're gonna do a stream on Sunday, but that's just for like Christmas chilling, maybe, or we do. I don't know. We'll let you know over on the forum what we're doing. I'm not sure, but there won't be any like cannabis news and grow guides until January 7th. But we have the conspiracy episode on the 15th. No, it's not the 15th. The 19th.
That
The
was too
conspiracy
big.
episode. You know, I'm time traveling. I nearly let my cover slip. You know.
Right.
But yeah, on the 19th, and our usual show time as well, 9 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So that's on the 15th for the conspiracy one. I said 15th again. Did you see that?
19,
We're living in the
19.
past.
19th. 19th. I just refuse to believe that we are only 8 days away from Jesus' birthday.
Buckle up.
You
It's coming.
know, god damn.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
well.
You should know all of this. We got the Avatar comp going over at Percy's
know,
right now.
right?
Lots of crazy stuff going on.
Damn. Good times, man. Yeah, happy Christmas, everybody. It's coming up very soon. I hope you're all
Yeah.
not getting stressed and stuff. I hope you're going to have a nice time with family and watch some shitty Christmas movies like Die Hard. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I can report that yeah, I'm gonna have a great Christmas because my daughter is inside waiting for me as soon as I get off the air.
Oh, yeah, shit. So let's wrap this shit up because Monkey wants to get the fuck out of here. I'm here just chatting shit when Monkey's got important things to do, man. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, everybody. We'll catch you over the week for the streams and we'll let you know what's going on over the Christmas period over on Percy's. But it's been a pleasure, as it always is. Stay high and stay safe. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us over on Percy'sGrowroom.com. Yeah, but that's it. Stay high, stay safe. 7th of
Bye.
January, Postman. Yes.
Yep. Be good. Santa's watching.
Yes, don't forget, Santa's always watching. Goodbye, everybody. Merry Christmas and all of that.
Ho ho ho.